Crossing Souls is the culmination of retro 80s themed nostalgic TV shows and movies like Stranger Things, Super 8, and the recent It remake, with 16-bit era Legend of Zelda games. Throw in some beat-em-up elements and puzzles and you get Crossing Souls. It's available for PS4, PlayStation Vita, and PC for $14.99, but with the current sale price of $11.99, at least at the time of filming this review. Crossing Souls taps into the recent 80s nostalgic trend that's been popular in recent media like Stranger Things and the newest It remake, telling a story that combines the retro aspects of that time setting with paranormal activity in a small town and a group of adventurous kids. Crossing Souls is very much the same in telling that type of story, with a group of adventurous kids consisting of Chris, Matt, Charlie, Big Joe, and Kevin. Each one is unique in personality and traits, bringing something new to the table while still feeling like parallels to the cast of It Chapter 1. Chris is the adventurous leader of the group, Matt is the wise one, Charlie is the tough tomboy with a trailer park dad, Kevin is the tough sensitive one, and lastly there's Chris's younger brother, Kevin, the youngest and quirkiest one. One day while exploring the forest, Kevin comes across the remains of a dead body with a mystical pyramid-looking amulet around their neck. Calling the rest of the group over, the kids decide to take the amulet and upon analyzing it, discover its abnormal powers to crossing dimensions between the living and dead. This newfound relic lets the kids communicate with the ghosts of the dead, both the harmful ones and the friendly ones, like Sparky, Chris and Kevin's recently passed away dog. As one would expect in these retro-themed nostalgic stories, a government agency and some bad guys are after the relic as well, and thus the kids get into quite the adventure. The story is entertaining for the most part with an interesting cast of characters and backdrop. The one big flaw I see though with the story is its pacing and its really awkward feeling writing at times. Occasionally lines will just come off as cheesy in a bad way. Other times it's the way the text is displayed, having dialogue interchanges that end with a speech bubble with just one word from the previous continuation of a full paragraph speech bubble. The general pacing of the story felt pretty off too, with a pretty strong start to the story and a much weaker ending that felt like it was being built up to something much greater. Crossing Souls doesn't take that long to get the group of kids together. 30 minutes in, you're already controlling everyone, getting a gist of everyone's unique skills and traits. Each kid brings a new element to the table, something they're specifically good at that'll come in handy when solving puzzles and when in combat. Chris, for example, can climb vines, while Matt has a pair of jet shoes that can hover over for a brief moment of time. Each of these abilities run on the character's stamina gauges and are used for traversing the environment and puzzles. While you'll have access to all 5 characters for the most part, you can only control one at a time. With the press of a button, you'll swap between the group on the fly to better suit the situation you have at hand. The differences in abilities are apparent, but there's slight stat differences too. Big Joe, for example, can pack quite a punch. He's the tank of the group, while Chris packs a lighter baseball swing, but is definitely swifter and more agile on his feet. The combat for the most part is rather straightforward. It doesn't really evolve much during the game. Most of the fight sequences in the game have you swinging away your attack at enemies as they fall one by one. Sadly, it doesn't get much more complicated other than that outside of some boss fights. Certain boss fights have you choose a specific character to do certain moves. In that aspect, I wish the game would have used its unique characters more wisely. The same can be said with the special relic that allows children to see the dead. Upon finding the relic, the group of children are able to cross dimensions and see ghosts all around them. The game uses this in a very humorous manner, showing off some hidden ghosts in the world, some even soaking up the summer sun for example. The rest of the time it's used to solve puzzles with the help of ghosts. These interactions are rather simple though, and I wish they'd offer a bit more complexity in puzzle design, and that's pretty much a trend with this game for me. It's very simple, and I wish it was much more than that. Some of the biggest standout moments for the game are the retro throwback minigames you get to play. Every once in a while you'll get a minigame that's themed after an iconic scene from media in the 80s, like the E.T. bike scene for example. They're pretty simple but definitely the most charming moments of the gameplay in Crossing Souls. Overall though, the gameplay was very linear and simple, offering a mix of combat and puzzles that I wish was just much more complicated in design. The combat felt straightforward, like it didn't really try to evolve, and I feel like it could have been using some sort of upgrade system elements in there. It's just too simplified. Crossing Souls makes use of pixel art, but it's heavily styled pixel art. I think that pixel art at times can either come off as charming or lazy, varying in the style it's done in. In my recent review of Aperion Cyberstorm for example, I thought that the pixel art was done in an incredibly simple fashion to the point of it being rather rushed or just badly put together. On the other hand, in my recent review of Boy and in this game, I think the pixel art is stylized to the point of being abundantly delightful. The way the characters move and interact with objects, whether it's just picking up a key or swinging a bat at an enemy, there's a sense of endearment with the way the characters react to it. It's a satisfying feedback reaction. There's also this bit of use of multiple layers and lighting design that adds some flair to the gameplay. For example, the use of purple ambient light throughout the arcade scenes or the slight bokeh effect going on during certain outside scenes. One particular charming design choice that effortlessly flows well with the story setting is the use of 80s themed cartoon cutscene. Very early on in the game, you get an introduction that essentially introduces the cast of characters, both the good ones and the bad ones, in a very Saturday morning-like cartoon style. It's simply a joy to watch, and I wish there was more of them in this game. The soundtrack for this game was very techno-heavy with some synthetic pop vibes that were composed by Jerry Goldsmith. It all fits in well with the 80s style theme setting, especially during those cartoon story cutscenes. This game truly brings all the funk that the 80s was known for. Speaking of those cutscenes, you don't get any dialogue during those scenes, instead characters sort of get their own unique sound effect whenever they speak in speech bubbles. I was personally fine with this choice. I sort of liked that the retro cutscenes were missing dialogue. It really does let the music shine a bit more. Crossing Souls is a combination of the popular surge of recent retro-themed video media like Stranger Things and It, with the adventurous gameplay of something like The Legend of Zelda on Super Nintendo cross-platforming puzzles. It's certainly an odd combination, but one that works pretty well when executed like Crossing Souls has. I found the cast of characters and the story to be engaging and riveting, although the writing for conversation exchanges could have been better. There was definitely a handful of moments where the characters could come off as admirable, but just as equally cheesy in a negative way. Gameplay grabs a bit from a handful of retro 16-bit titles. It's part adventure, action, puzzle, platformer, and beat 'em up. The 9 to 11 hour story was pretty linear, so I would have enjoyed a bit more variety in the gameplay, especially if it would have added some RPG elements that tacked on some complexity to the combat. With all that said, I think if you can pick up this game for a sale price that's near $10 or so, it's worth checking out despite its bad writing at times and pretty linear gameplay. That does it for my review of Crossing Souls for the PS4, PlayStation Vita, and PC. If you have any questions about the game or the review, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below, or just hit me up on Twitter, Snapchat, or Discord. Those links are in the description down below. If you enjoyed this review, then please leave a like down below and subscribe for more reviews just like this in the future for the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PS4, and PC. As always, thank you all very much for watching, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one.